Hey, thank you. Uh, my name is Gandhali, and some of you must have known me because I used to do a lot of these sessions on Azure a few years back. I would quickly give my background. I've spent around 20 years in IT, most of them working on Microsoft Stack, .NET, SQL, and all that. Last 8 years, I was actually with Microsoft. I joined Microsoft as an evangelist first. So I started if you remember the times when we were working on Windows 8 and Windows Phone, and Windows Phone is non-existent now. But that's when I started with Microsoft. I was an evangelist, and then I moved to Azure. Uh, that's when I used to do a lot of sessions and work with many different developer communities. And then last 4 years, I was an engineering manager with one of the orgs in Microsoft called Commercial Software Engineering, where I was working with some of the top enterprise customer worldwide of Microsoft. And in that capacity, I mainly worked on FSI and retail customers. And then around couple of months back, I again changed course in my career and took up a new role with GitHub. New because it is with GitHub, and in a sense, it is old because it is very similar to what I was doing in my evangelism days. I'm leading the developer ecosystem and community chapter at GitHub India now. GitHub India is a very small team. In fact, GitHub India entity came into picture just around a year and a half back, but we are growing, and it's really exciting to kind of, come here today and talk about GitHub. Before I start my session, some things. If you have any questions, raise your hands and you can put it on a chat. But once I start sharing screen, I might not be able to look at chat continuously. If it's okay, I'll finish my slides. I will then spend a good amount of time on some demos that I have created, and then we can take all the questions at the end. Does that work for everybody? You can just type yes or something. If there is something that really you want me to interrupt, you can unmute and ask. But I would say let's leave for urgent matters because it's going to be difficult for me to monitor chat, while I'm presenting the screen. Okay, so with that, this is me. My GitHub handle is G Samant, and my Twitter handle is S_Gandhali. And let's start. One second. Okay, so today's agenda, I'm going to start with what's GitHub because, I've been talking to Kasim and I was like, I was not sure exactly what all I should cover, right? So, from audience perspective, there might be some people here who know GitHub, who already use GitHub, who know DevOps and how kind of, GitHub helps in that whole process. But there might be some people who are completely new to it, who have never used GitHub, who are still using TFS or any other source of repositories and DevOps tooling and all that. So just to be inclusive, I thought I will spend first few minutes on what's GitHub, how GitHub evolved as a company, how it became the home of open source. Then we will digress a little bit. It might seem a little disjointed, but I thought it will be important to understand the DevOps evaluation, and then we'll get back into GitHub, like how GitHub really plays part in that DevOps, and that's where we will kind of try to understand why GitHub for developers. And then though there are like hundreds and thousands of new features that are coming every day, I thought we will deep dive into actions because actions are the way to go for CI/CD on GitHub, and it's also one of the fastest growing features on GitHub. So I thought that we will go deep dive into actions, we'll understand actions, and that's where we will see some demos. I prepared some demos using .NET applications because I understand mostly it is .NET and Azure audience. And then we will spend a little bit of time on GitHub pages because it's a very quick, small, nice feature to have. And then I think we'll conclude for the day. There are a lot of more features that we could explore later. So I'll ask Kasam that, if there is interest, we could plan next sessions. But for today's session, this is what we will go through. Okay. So, GitHub, where it all began and where we are now, right? So, GitHub was founded in 2008 by three software developers that were looking to kind of, for a better way to collaborate on their projects. So that's what's the need. The collaboration was like the key underlying foundation for the, I would say, innovation or the launch of GitHub. It was also the same time when pull request feature is released. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard about pull request because it's basically a way to let others know that, hey, I have made change to a software project. That's it. But the reason I wanted to point it out is because pull request is now standard practice in all the software development processes, and it feels really cool that it started here. The word was coined and the term was coined here at GitHub in 2008. In 2009, GitHub released the issue tracking feature and also hit 100,000 users. In 2011, what started happening by that time that we had a good amount of user base, but people started understanding that they are not being used to, they are not being, able to use GitHub for their work-related project because of compliance issues and such. So that's when in 2011, GitHub Enterprise Server was released, which was kind of a self-hosted version of GitHub. And that was the same year GitHub hit 1 million user. Now, for next few years, it was almost status quo. Like, yes, there was a sales hire and a student developer pack is released, which is again the best offering in the education world today. But fast forward to 2017, and if you all remember, those of you who you were in IT that time, that's where the kind of a big change was happening, right? 14, 15, 16, 17 is when we started hearing a lot about cloud. AWS became big, Azure, really started pacing up and adding a lot of new features to kind of again go in the market. And that's when developers also started asking that why GitHub is not having a cloud version. So GitHub Enterprise Cloud was released. It was having all the features of GitHub Enterprise, but it was hosted on GitHub Cloud. So basically the admin and the maintenance and all that was taken care by GitHub. Then in 2018, as all of us know, Microsoft acquired GitHub for $7.5 billion. That was the same time Learning Lab was released, and GitHub also hit 30 million users. It was also the same time when Nat Friedman, the CEO, came on board, and he started identifying a lot of opportunities that could enhance GitHub as a product and a lot of features that could be added. So as you see in 2019 we acquired Dependabot, we also hit 40 millions, and GitHub Actions or packages were released. In 2020 there was one very important announcement that GitHub for Teams became free, and GitHub also acquired NPM, one of the best known package managers, and also hit 50 million users. And today, here we are. I think we are around 60 million plus users today. And I like to believe, we all like to believe that the future is bright for GitHub as well as developers, those who use it. GitHub is also the home of open source, right? So, what is open source software? Again, everybody knows it, but nobody tries to define it. It's source code basically that is available to others. That is available to anybody who want to view it, copy it, learn it, share it. It's basically free for you to use and explore. And today, if you see 90%, more than 90% projects, all over software projects use some component of open source, sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly. And open source also kind of develops that community uh, of collaboration. The community is growing more interconnected in today's world, obviously, and it's very easy to kind of find people who have similar skills or similar interests and you want to work from, and it doesn't matter where you are, you can work from anywhere with anyone who is sitting anywhere in the world. So that's the kind of the beauty of the open source. It opens a lot of opportunities. It opens a lot of collaboration aspects. It nurtures a lot of talent because your code gets reviewed and used by so many people. And GitHub, when I say GitHub, it's obviously the largest developer platform in the world, but it is also the largest open source platform in the world. We have maximum, the best and most used open source repositories are right now hosted on GitHub. So that was the introduction about GitHub as a company and as a home of open source. There is somebody who needs to be on mute. I'm getting some voice. Okay, so now, as I said, we are gonna digress a little bit. We are gonna get like in 5-10 minutes just the software development evolution. We are going to look at what is DevOps, and then we'll come back to GitHub and how GitHub helps with the DevOps process. Okay, software development process. How many of you were I don't know whether you guys heard my question, but I wanted to ask that are there is there anybody here who has used waterfall model in their lifetime? Please raise your hands. Okay, I don't think anybody here. Maybe, oh, we have a few people. Okay, cool. So I have ancient people like me. Okay, so yeah, so we know the waterfall model, how build, implement, test happened. What was the biggest problem with waterfall model was the time it took, right? If people, I mean, I remember one project where we spent literally 2-3 years in design and then almost 5 to 6 years in coding. And I was not part of that project from start. I started somewhere in the middle of the coding phase, but I knew it has been going on for such a long time. And obviously it took long time. So by the time your product is out to market, your market would be moved on to something else. And also it was very difficult to introduce change because every step is so hard coded and defined that you do the requirements, you do the design, you do the coding, you do the testing, you do the implementation, and so on. So that's where uh, in 2001 agile came into place. And I think most of us again know what agile development is, where it is a feature based development. You kind of uh, ship early, you take small features, you ship small and ship often. That is kind of the mantra of agile. And that is where your quick coding, quick testing, quick collaboration became very important with agile methodology. So how do we become agile? Obviously, prioritizing over teams and collaboration. Started working on software first rather than creating comprehensive documentation. So, for example, every sprint you will ship something that is working rather than creating lots of documentation of how it should be designed and so on. We also prioritize customer collaboration and responding to change quickly, uh, very fluidly, over following a kind of a hard coded plan. That's how the movement started to become agile. So that's where also we realized that DevOps became the essential part of it. So what is DevOps? So let's look at the definition of DevOps as many other companies are doing it. So let me first look at Atlassian. What is it saying? So DevOps is a set of practices that automates the process between software development and IT teams in order that they can build, test, and release software faster and more reliably. So that faster and more reliably kind of became the key of the entire agile methodology, that we want to do it fast, we want to do it with quality, and we want to make sure that it is done in collaboration along with software development and IT teams working together. AWS defines it as it's a combination of cultural philosophies, and I really like the cultural philosophies word because, uh, in my mind, DevOps is all about how you think about it. It's your culture. I personally took some time to understand agile methodology and the DevOps culture. But once you start using it, you realize that, you move at such a faster pace and you are so agile, you can introduce changes as they happen. You can quickly respond to the changing scenario outside of your software world. That, it really became more and more important. And that's where all the tooling for DevOps started to come into place. Like, we heard of so many tools which are specific to DevOps tools. That that innovation, that kind of all development started happening in that time frame. So this is the circle as we go in agile methodology. We plan, we code, we build, we test, we release, deploy, operate, and then again plan. And that happens in sprints. Most of you know what are sprints. And these are some of the tools, most I would say used tools in market for DevOps. So what DevOps is not just a roles or title, it's not just a tool set, it's not just a new label for old process. It's also not a rejection of traditional software development methodologies, but it's a way to respond to a fast changing world around you. And how does GitHub help with this? So now we are back with GitHub. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you the Git flow, the core flow that GitHub helps you with step by step. And then you will start understanding this collaboration piece, this testing piece, this checking and fast piece, how CI/CD gets kind of introduced in that whole flow in this GitHub flow. So the first thing, so before we look at this flow, you have your software, right? In GitHub, in Git world, we have branches. So you have your main branch, which is, I would say, your base software, your most stable version of software, which is currently maybe in production, right? And you are a developer who are starting with this software, and you have a feature that you want to build onto this software. Again, it's a scope feature, it's a small feature that you will build as a part of your next sprint or whatever. But first thing you do is you create a feature branch. Now this is exact copy of your main branch, but this is something that is completely owned by you, and whatever changes you make into that, they are going to only be limited to you. You are not going to change anything in the working code that is on the main branch. So the moment you create your feature branch, it's like your own slice of world where you can try anything that you want to do. You can, even if you write code and it has bugs, that's okay because it's not going to hurt anything else, right? Then what do you do is you obviously add some commits. And when I say commits, these are like the code changes or the new code, whatever you would change in the current code. Those are the commits, and you will keep adding those. So next, say for example, a week I'm building a feature, I'm adding variables, I'm adding functions, I'm adding unit tests. All that is part of my commits. And then comes a phase where you think that, oh, you know what? From my point of view, this development is done. I want to make sure, obviously, that this is reviewed and tested and everything. But at my level, at my individual level, this change is done for me. So I want to now push it up, right? So that's where things get interesting because you open a pull request. And again, a pull request is a way to let others know on your team that you are working on these changes. And now they are at a place that everybody else can get involved in the change, to review the code, to offer the suggestion, what all everything. Okay. So that's where you go ahead and create a pull request. Now, pull request helps you in two things. One is obviously all the discussion and the review and suggestions, and obviously all the learning opportunity that comes with it, right? Because now your code is being looked at by many different eyes. There might be some errors somebody found out, there might be some optimizations that are needed, there might be some different ways to do it. All that discussion will happen. But one more important thing that happens with pull request is the automation that you can get in place. So for example, you have written a test of unit test, which was already there in main branch, and you added new code, and you obviously wrote unit test to test your new code, your new features, whatever, etc. Right? Now you put in the place the automation that the moment you create a pull request, that automation kicks in, and tests all your unit testing. Only if the unit test passes, you are allowed to create a pull request. These are the triggers, by the way. And this makes sure that if the code is buggy or if the code is breaking something which is already existing and working fine, your code will not be allowed to push even for review. You have to fix that. You have to make sure that your all your unit tests are passing before you even create a pull request. So all these automations that come into place and all these discussions, the value addition of collaboration will come into place once you create a pull request. So then the step happens where there is a discussion and there is a review, and then people will come back and tell you, okay, why don't you change it this way? And then you will debate and discuss, and maybe there are changes you needed, so you add more commit. Your pull request is still open and you can keep adding more commits on the same pull request. But this is where communication happen, and that entire communication discussion gets facilitated on GitHub. So once, say for example, all this is done and all the reviewers are saying, okay, your code looks good. I think we have, crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. We are ready to go to the next step. That's when you say that your code is ready to merge. So GitHub again helps here ensure the quality and minimize surprises. So for example, when your code is ready to merge, that means that somebody is requesting control. I don't know. I'm just going to ignore it. So that means that does the code pass CI and automated test? Has it been reviewed? Has it been signed off? Will it merge successfully with the base branch? Does the team collectively agree that it is good to go? That's what happens at the merge level. That when you say ready to merge, this all is true. And then you obviously go ahead and merge with the base. At this point of time, you can even go and delete your feature branch because its life cycle is over, its usage is over, and your code change is now part of the main branch. Now, this is the most simplified flow, right? There are, when you actually are working on production level code with big enterprises, you will see many different branches. There are branches for staging, there are branches for testing, and there are obviously feature branch, which is developer opens, and then there is a complete philosophy of what could merge where, what kind of approvals are needed, what kind of gatekeeping happens, who can do what, and all that could be managed with GitHub. So this GitHub flow in its essential helps you manage a big part of that DevOps CI/CD process. And these are some of the, as I was saying, right, some really big open source methodologies. These are like React, Angular, Docker, Python, TensorFlow. These are all hosted on GitHub. Okay. And yep, as I said earlier, yeah. Hello? Okay. I'm just going to ignore that. In modern software supply chains, 80 to 90% code comes from open source. So I'm gonna go here and just to recap what we did, what GitHub has is a developer-minded product. It enables collaboration at its core. As I said, it started with collaboration in mind. It it basically enables the DevOps culture and developer first mindset. It has a consistent workflow. It has an ecosystem that by default promotes automation and innovation. There is a marketplace for tool or CI/CD. And when you go to GitHub Marketplace, you will see integration for every possible CI/CD tool that you might be using today. And then there is a lot of flexibility with toolchain. We are not saying that you have to stay with this or that. You might be using some tools. So there might be some GitHub tools equivalent, but you might be using some, competitor tools, and you can use any tools. Like you want to use Jira, you want to use Atlassian, you can use any tools. There is a lot of integration flexibility available with GitHub. And obviously, it's a familiar product. People start with GitHub really early, even in the education world. Uh, Nowadays, and this has happened recently, and since I was a hiring manager, engineering manager for a long time, I know this that when I'm hiring a developer and I get a resume, by default, I used to go and see if they have GitHub repo. Now, obviously, this shouldn't count against because there are people who work on work with such enterprises where you are not allowed to have open source project and there are some restrictions and such. But if they have a GitHub repos and if they have some code which are like in public repo, I've gone and seen them. So it is slowly becoming a developer resume of how you are doing it. And many times, when we used to do like the coding interviews for engineers in Microsoft as well, we used to ask them to upload their code on GitHub and we would go see it. And we will see how they have used the tooling, how they have used the CI/CD, how they have written the testing, all that stuff, right? And obviously, it has a huge, huge community. So these are all the things in recap of why GitHub is a developer first product that we have. And after this, now I'm going to move on to GitHub Actions. Okay, so here we are changing gears a little bit. We had a kind of a overview of GitHub, and now we are going to look at one feature of GitHub, which is becoming very popular. It's growing very fast. We have a lot of actions right now on marketplace, and it's becoming very, very imperative to your CI/CD toolchain. So what is actions? By definition, it's a world-class CI/CD. It's fully integrated with GitHub. It responds to any GitHub event. It has community-powered workflow, so anybody can create workflow, anybody can create an action, you can put it on marketplace and anybody can use it. And it is open for any platform, any language, any cloud. So it's, I mean, completely flexible on whichever platform or cloud or language that you want to use. It also has streaming, searchable, linkable logs. It has a built-in secret store where you could store the secret that your pipelines require, and it is very easy to write and very easy to share. So this is just like a one screenshot of how actions look. But let's go here. So actions are reusable components. They live in independent repositories. They are in public repositories for now. If you want to look at the official list of all the possible GitHub actions, you can go to GitHub/actions. That's it. Uh, you use actions in your workflows. But if you want to write your custom actions, there are two ways. One is a GitHub Actions toolkit in JavaScript, or you can write them in Docker and publish it to Docker Hub. So let's look at workflows. So workflows are basically YAML files which glue together the existing actions and create a step-by-step path for whatever you want to execute. So they can listen for particular triggers such as push trigger or pull request trigger. They can run shell script or they can run the pre-existing actions, and actions can run in any VM you want: Linux VM, Windows VM, Mac VM, or Docker on Linux VM. You can run on anything. Some of the things that you keep in mind: that events kick off the workflows, then jobs run in so workflows consist of jobs. You can have a workflow which has just one job and a lot of stuff, but each job will run its own VM. It can run in parallel or it can run sequential, where you will have to define the dependencies that job 2 depends on job 1 and such. The steps which are under one job, which will run in the same VM. You can search the log and you can save the artifact that come as a part of your actions. This is just a basic .NET CI workflow, and this is exactly what we will run in next 5 minutes. Again, before we go there, let's see here. You define your name. Sorry. You define your name. You define the triggers on which you want to run your action. I don't know why it keeps moving. And then you have your job, where you have, the name of the job. Your job is build job. It is running on a Ubuntu latest VM. And these are the steps. First thing, it will do a checkout, then it will set up .NET SDK, then it will do .NET restore, build, test, all these things. These are just the commands, .NET commands that you are writing, right? And we will see this exact same CI workflow in actual demo. So this is how, if you want to see what are the different triggers that will, trigger the different workflows, here is a complete list, help.github.com, events that trigger workflows. So you can look at that. I will share the PowerPoint later. And this is again the complete reference in the doc, configuring a workflow. And with that, we will start with actions. So I'm going to stop sharing my PPT, and then we will go back to the actual demo. So just give me 1 second here. Okay. Can you see can somebody confirm that they
Yes,
can see my screen?
yes,
Okay, okay, okay. So what we are gonna do today is I have two demos. One is where since we have .NET audience, I have created a .NET application where we have a class library, a console app, and also a test project. What we will do is we will create a brand new Git repo. We'll add all the code there. We'll also see some Git step. In case you are not familiar with GitHub, we will see how do you do commit, clone, commit, push, all that also we will do. And then what we'll do is once the code is on GitHub, we will write a CI action, and then we will see how it whole flows go. So that is demo number one. Second one I want to show is for the Azure developer. So for example, if I have a ASP.NET web app and I'm just going to create an empty web app, how do you integrate it with Azure and how do you deploy it on a Azure web app? Okay, so those are the two things we are going to do. So to start with, we are going to create a new repository and I'm going to name it console app demo. Create repository. So my console app demo repo is ready. Now I need to get, so there are many different ways to kind of copy it, right? So you can open with desktop, you can download it as zip, and over the time, everybody develops their own way of doing it. So for me, it's always easy that I just copy this and I go in my terminal. So this is, I'm on my terminal on local and I just do git clone. So I have, okay, I actually wanted to clone it in a different directory. So I'm gonna actually go to CD desktop. Then I'm going to do CD code. Then I'm going to, this is where I'm going to clone it, okay? Git clone. Just 1 second, I need to stop sharing. I'm just having some issue. Give me 2 minutes, I need to come back, okay? I'm back. I had to change something. Okay.
yeah.
Are you all there?
Yes, Gandhali, yes.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Here I'm on my terminal. I have cloned my repo. So I'm just going to do a ls and I will see console app demo here. So I'm going to do cd console demo. Now what I'm going to do is, I think first thing is we need to create the projects, right? So you know how to do .NET new and create different projects. To save the time, I have already created all the projects. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, right now, if you see, there is only README file. So I'm going to copy the projects that I have created already, and I'm going to put them in this folder. So just give me 1 second. So I have copied all the projects, and now if I do ls, I have all the projects here. So I'm going to open Visual Studio Code and quickly show you what these projects are. Okay. So here we have obviously a solution, but then we have a string library, which is, and this is again some code that I have taken from Azure, sorry, .NET Docs. So this is a this is a example that is available. You can download from anywhere. I just wanted something small. It just takes any string and it tells you whether the first character is upper or is uppercase or not. That's all it does. But it also has like a kind of a console app here, if you see. So it basically takes care of your console questions like, enter or enter only to exit, otherwise enter a string to pass and all that. So basically, this is the console app we have. And then there is a test. So if you see here, we have a test project where we have written some tests, unit test one, where we are checking like, these are the tests start with upper where you should have a true, there are the where you should have no, and all these tests. So it's very simple. You have a control app, you have a class library, and you have a test project. Okay. So now first thing what we do is we go to .NET and we do .NET build. And then I'm going to do .NET run. I'm going to do this showcase and showcase because my CS project is here. CS project. Where is my? I'm making it wrong spelling. Okay, let me just do .NET test here. Okay, so it is testing everything. I will find why it is not working later. But right now my test is working and my project is ready. And one thing I need to do is I need to get this project on GitHub, right? So first thing, if you remember, we need to add the file. So we can do this entire process from either the VS Code or we can do it from console. So I'm going to do it once from console. So I'm going to do git add. So this will add all the files and then I'm going to do git commit. Sorry. -m. This is my first commit. Okay, so now my all files are staged and all I'm going to do now is git push. Okay, so if I go back here now and if I see here, all my code is here. Now what I want to do is I want to write a action for the CI workflow. So let me go here. So when you go here to GitHub Actions, you will also see that these are the it kind of realizes that it's a C# repository and it will show you that these are all the GitHub Actions, the workflows that are already there. You can just go use it. But for now, what we can do is I'm gonna set up a workflow myself. So we will start. And even then, what you get is kind of a complete template. So you see there is a name, which is CI. It triggers on two things. One is push to the branches or the pull request on the branches. And then this is a workflow. So this is what we will change as per our need. So I'm just gonna take out all the comments so that it is easier for you to see what's going on. Okay. So we have name, we have on, which is trigger, and now we need to put in some steps. So first thing we need to do that we have to say jobs, that we need to add jobs, and our job is going to be build. So to tab and build. Okay. Now, first thing I need to define is what my job is running on. So I'm going to say runs on. And since this is a .NET Core, I will do Ubuntu latest. Okay. And then comes my steps. So I'm going to now add steps. First step is obviously we need to check out. So this is the syntax uses. I'm going to say. Now here is where I'm using another predefined action, which is checkout. And I will show you where all these actions are aligned later. Okay. Checkout. This is the actions version. You can have different versions of same action and you can decide which version you want to use. The next step is basically I want to set up the .NET SDK, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say name. You can add a name to your set. So I'm just going to do setup .NET SDK. I'm going to say uses, and again I'm going to use another action. I have to make sure my tabs are aligned. Okay. And I'm going to use another action saying action slash setup.net. I will show you this action, how it looks. At version, I think it was 1.7.2. And I'm going to also specify as this action requires the .NET version, which .NET version I'm using. So I'm going to say .NET slash version is equal to, I'm using .NET 5 here. So I will say 5.0.x. Hey, so that is my setup.NET where I'm using action. Now, next thing I want to use is a command. So I'm going to say name is going to restore. So first thing we do at the .NET project is we restore the code, right? So I'm going to just say run, and this is the command we need to run, which is .NET restore. And then we are going to do the build. So the next one we have is now we are going to do the build. Is build. And this I'm just going to copy from here. I have it somewhere because it is going to take a long time for me to type all this. So let's go to remove this double run that has come. And then the last one I'm going to do is test. So I want to make sure my tests are passing. We will make sure that we'll try to do the test failing also. And then run .NET test. Okay, my action is ready. I mean, my workflow is ready, which is using multiple actions, and I have to commit this. So since I have said that any push that will happen on main branch, this should kick off. Now here, when I commit, there are two things. One is directly committing to the main branch, which is the same. Nobody does it. You always create a new branch and commit. But since this is a demo and this is my repo and there is nobody else watching me other than you guys, I'm just gonna do commit new file here. And this should kick off my action. So if you see, the action workflow run says create main. And if you go here, you will see that the job is starting. So it's setting up the job. Somebody is.
Yeah, line number 20 is off. Line number the version you are not doing properly.
I can't hear you properly. Can you put it on chat? Let me see. Your voice is breaking. Okay, so if you see, this all worked through and my build is done. Now what I want to do is I want to see how if I do something wrong in my code and if my code fails, whether it will be able to how the action will stop me from creating pull requests, right? So what I will do is I will go back to my Visual Studio, and now I'm going to do some stuff in the Visual Studio. We did last time in the terminal. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new branch, which is the actual way I should be doing. I'm just going to name it my name, and I'm going to create a new branch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change my code so that my code fails. I want my code to fail, right? So I'm going to change it so that I will say this is lower. This will sure fail my code, right? This is basically fail my testing, my unit testing, not my code. Because my code is wrong, my unit test will fail. So now I have one file here. I will save it. Okay. And now I will see here that one second. Is there anything happening on chat? Okay, .NET version is misspelled. I will fix that. We'll anyways go back there. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going back here. I will stage my change. I will add or change here. And now I will commit it. I will push it. Before pushing, let me go back and fix that where I have issue. Okay, start commit. So this will commit changes. Go back to action. Okay, this will happen. And once this is done, we will go and push the new change. Let's see. I don't know why it said last time that it built properly. Okay, so now we will go back here and I will push this change. I'll push it to version. So now, since I'm taking it from one branch, my own feature branch Gandhali, and I'm putting it to main, I will go here and I will see that it's giving me an option that this branch has pushed a change to main branch, but till I create a pull request, it's not going to do anything about it. So I go here, and the moment I say, okay, I'm okay with this, create pull request, you will see that this will start kicking the build, because when we define the triggers for action, we said that pull request is one of the triggers. So now, obviously, our build should fail. Let's see, let's go back here. When I say build will fail, that is build job will fail, because it's gonna do the testing and it failed. So it will not let me create the pull request. It will stay here. Now what I will go is, since this pull request is still open, I'm gonna make another commit. So I will go back to my Visual Studio. I will change it to the correct code I had. And then I will save this. Yes. So I have my change here. I do fixed code. and I will commit this. I need to stage this first. So sorry, stage, commit, push to, issue. And now you will see the same commit came here. Now it will go, it will do the build, it will tell me that, okay, once the build is done, it will show that, okay, this build is working, my all unit tests are passing, so it's okay to merge this pull request. So let's wait for that. Okay, all checks have passed. This branch has no for this. I'm going to merge my pull request, confirm merge, and now I will delete branch and it's all good. So this is where we try to kind of introduce some problem in the code and we saw like how the pull request will work. Now next thing we will do is I'll create another repo and we will create a small Azure web app just to see how we'll integrate and deploy on a Azure web app. Okay, so I'll go here, I'll create a new repo. We'll do demo. Okay, I'll make it public. I'll add a README file. I'll create repo. Okay, I'm going to do git clone here. Cd dot. I have nothing here. So here now I'm going to use .NET New because I'm not going to create anything elaborate. So let's do .NET New Web. Okay. So I will do .NET Build. Okay. Man, what happened? Let me do .NET. I need to get into the directory, how it will work otherwise, right? So I need to web app demo CD. Here is where I will do .NET Web. Now I will do .NET Build. Build succeeded. I will do .NET Run. So it says that my site is ready on localhost. So I'll go localhost 5000. Hello world is there. So my web app is there. Now what I will do is again I'll stop this. We'll see. I will again do my git add. I will do my git commit. And then I will do git push. Now here we are going to do a CI and CD workflow where we want to also do deploy. So for deploy, we need a it will take a couple of seconds for me to, yeah, give me just 1 minute. I'll sign it on as MFA. I'm getting requests on LinkedIn, so everything happening at the same time. Okay. Hopefully it logs in. Yes. Okay, so this is a website that I've created just so that we save time. This is where we are gonna publish. So one thing we need to do before we kind of deploy to Azure is we need to get a published profile from Azure Web App and add it to our secret. So I'm going to get a published profile here. It will open it, and I have to choose application. So I'm gonna open it in Visual Studio Code. Open, open, and this is my. Okay, so why I need this is obviously to deploy to Azure, I need authentication, right? Not anybody and everybody should be able to do. So this public profile gives me everything that I need to be able to deploy my app to Azure. So now before I deploy it or before I even create CI/CD, action, I have to first go and add it as a secret on my settings. So here you will see the secrets. I'm going to do a new repository secret. I'm going to name it publish profile. I will put a value here and I will add this as a secret. So my publish profile secret is already there. And now I can go and add one action here. So let's just go it again. Okay. So here I'm going to save some time and I'm going to find out my other action from where I'm going to copy. It will take longer time to type everything. So let me just I've saved it on a text. And then uh, there are less chances of me writing surgeon instead of virgin. So I think that will save time for all of us. Okay, but let me still go through what this action is doing. So as we start, it's actually should be CI and CD. So let me change the name. And then we have on push, we are doing push to branches main, we will do a trigger. Pull request branch on main, we'll do a trigger. Here I have also adding some environment variables. So this is my Azure web app name, which is action test gs, which is this one here. And okay, and then I'm also adding a web app package path because I need to package my web app before I deploy it somewhere, right? So again, these steps are very same. You set up .NET Core, you build, and then you do a .NET Publish to create your release package. You save it in a, this is the path that I'm giving. I'm going to remove this working directory because this was something else I was doing. So this we will not need now. Okay. So again, so this is the publish, then I will run the deploy, and this is the Azure WebOps deploy one. This is the action that I will use, Azure action. And then here the things that we will do is we will replace the app name with our app name. We will replace the publish profile, which is stored in the secrets, and then we will publish the package. Okay. So let me do start commit. I'm again going to commit directly to main branch. As I said, it's the same. We will do it here just for the sake of demo. Never do it in your real environments. And let's see if the action is triggered. I hope this time there are no misspellings. Now it is doing the install, it is doing the build. It succeeded. It will create the publish. Okay, so let me go to this. And now I have my application deployed on Azure website. Now, obviously, when you have complex applications like maybe ASP.NET MVC applications, form applications, there might be more steps, there might be more packages that you will build, there might be dependencies that all you will have to manage. This you can think as a main, very simple vanilla kind of uh, project that we did. But this was just to demonstrate like how quickly you can build a CI/CD pipeline with just a few lines of code. And this is all these templates are available online if you go and just search for them. So it's very easy to do it. Next thing I wanted to do, and again, we will talk about a static web page. No, not nothing. So, GitHub pages is kind of a static way of showcasing about your project, like whatever you want to showcase. So there are many great projects which has great code, but you also want to have a way to kind of have developers to look at your project and understand what it is, right? So for example, here I have my README file where all it says is web app demo. So if I go here, it has nothing, right? But in real life, your README file has all the steps. It has all the different answers to all the questions that developer will have when they are using your repo. And these README files could also be used to, create some content for your static page. So let me just go and show, how do you create that? It's like a honestly, it's a 2-minute thing that you can do, but you can actually do a lot more elaborate stuff with it. I've seen some of my colleagues doing really great pages with GitHub pages. But to start with, here is what you do. You go into settings, you go to pages, and it says you have to select a source. So I'm going to select a branch and I'm going to say save. And then this is actually going to take. What you can also do is you can have a completely different branch just for your web page. Okay, you don't have to use the same branch. You can also have a repo which contains all the content that you want to push to your web page. So you can just have a specific repo only for your page also. Here I'm just creating a page which is attached to my repo, which will talk about my repo, right? So that's why I'm selecting main branch, and then I'm going to choose a theme. And these are all, this is an open source tool called Jekyll, which has all the many themes. So I'm just going to select anything here. A lot, probably a time machine looks cool. Okay, I can work it here. And I'll select this theme. And now it creates a README, right? And it says, welcome to GitHub pages. You can use all that. So now you can change all of this to whatever you want, right? So for example, you can also preview it here. So let's just see. Welcome to GitHub pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this file and I'm going to say, uh, this is a web app demo, ASP.NET web app demo, something like that. And then I will say, check this out if you want to see actions in action, whatever you want to say. I mean, literally, and it also gives you a lot of information about how to write a markdown file. And I'm sure everybody knows how to write markdown file. But again, since it is also a file part of your repo, you will go through the proper Git flow of commit, and you can also create a different branch for this. And I'm updating this. And if I go to here, now it will say that my page is ready. So I'm gonna just click here. It creates by default github.io domain, and this is your account name. So G Samant is my Twitter, my GitHub handle, and then this is my repo. So this is how it creates. But you can also create custom domains that you want. So you can have other than gsamant.github.io, you can create custom domains here. I'm just gonna use this, and this is my web page. And seriously, you can do so many stuff with it, and you have so many different themes to do it. You can really create a great showcase for your project without having to write a single line of code. You don't even have to write HTML in most cases. All you need to write is a good markdown file, and it will use a template to make it really, really beautiful. So if you want to have a way to have a quick web page, static web page up for your project related information and which you want to make it look good, I think GitHub Pages is a really good way to do that. So that was one quick thing I wanted to show, and I think we are almost near time. We have probably 10-20 minutes. I'm going to go back to see if there is anything more in my PPT. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so this is github.com marketplace. Please note down this. Here is where you will find all the actions that are there. And as you can see, I don't know when this screenshot was taken, but close to 5,000 actions we have here. Uh, then this is where you get all the help if you want to migrate to GitHub Actions. So uh, yeah, so I think the screenshot was pretty old. We have probably, if I'm not wrong, I don't have the exact number. We are probably more than 9,000 chat actions right now. But again, don't hold me to the number. 1 second. This is something a really good use resource, and I'm saying this is good because I myself used it. As I told you, I've been a GitHub user for a long time, but all these latest features I started learning pretty recently. So this lab.github.com has awesome learning resources. It has a lot of learning paths, and it's very automated. So basically you just go select a course and it will create it in your GitHub repo, and as you go through the steps, it will have the automation to check whether your steps are correct or not. So just try that. This is really, really cool. The lab.github.com. Not many people know. Like before I joined GitHub, even I didn't know about this resource. But yeah, please take use of it. It's really cool. So that's with the actions. Please try them today on github.com/features/actions. GitHub pages we already talked about, and I think that's the end. If you want to connect, this is my GitHub handle, this is my Twitter, this is my LinkedIn. I'm already getting some LinkedIn requests. I will look at them later. Uh, but yeah, I have around a few minutes to take answers, to take questions. And as I said, some answers I might be able to give. There might be some things which I don't have a complete coverage on. I will go back, I'll find those answers, and I'll come back to you. With that, I'm done. I'm going to stop present mode and go back to my chat.